Hey there, I'm Ken. This is Canadian Retro Things. Welcome. Today, I'm going to look at one of the things I picked up at BoatFest. I'm going to look at my Odyssey 500. That's right, the Odyssey 500 is one of the things I picked up at the BoatFest auction. That's a video that I did recently where I showed a few of the things that I picked up. That was one of them. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to clean this unit up a little bit. I am going to take a quick little look at some of the history behind it. I am going to plug it in and try it out. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, we'll figure out what needs to be done to get it working. And then, of course, we're going to open it up. We're going to take a look and see what that 1976 retro goodness is inside of it. The chips that were used, we're going to see what kind of shape the PCB from this old gaming system is like. Speaking of PCBs, I'd like to give a big thank you to the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. PCBWay is the place to go when you need to print new PCBs for your retro project. Whether it's a new add-on to your retro hardware, a replacement part you've designed, or even something completely new, like maybe a Pong-style game, you can get the PCBs printed starting as low as $5 for 10 PCBs. There's even a store where you can get any equipment you may need to help with building and repairing your projects. Just look under the Module Store tab. So visit PCBWay today at www.pcbway.com. First, we'll take a quick look at the history behind this. The Odyssey 500 is a gaming unit released by Magnovox in 1976. Magnovox first entered the video game market in 1972 with the very first home game console called the Odyssey. This console used a printed circuit board as a cartridge that connected different paths on the internal logic circuitry for the games rather than having any programming on the cartridge itself. The Odyssey 500 is the fifth version of their line of Pong-style games to be released, the others being the 100 through 400, all released in 1975 or 1976. The 500 is the deluxe version of the 300 and 400, boasting color graphics and the standard line on the screen that represents the player. It was replaced by sprites that represent the player in the game they are playing, which is something I'm looking forward to seeing. And this is the machine. It's got controls on each side for the players, the two different players, the blue player and the yellow player. As you can see, it doesn't have separate joysticks. You have to sit side by side to play this because it's all on one unit. The power switch. You've got a selection of 3 different playing fields. One with the wall on the far left, one with the wall in the middle, and one with a wall on either side with a hole in the middle of it. And then you've got your 3 different players. Hockey, tennis, and they call this one squash. I guess it's kind of like handball. 2 controls up here. One for centering the net to whichever side of to the best place for it to fit on your screen. This is for the speed of the game. And then at the back here, you have a connector for the power brick. So we are going to plug this in and try out to see if it works or not. There is, however, one little problem. And that is this. This is the RF connector. The RF connector on these are a proprietary design, which means that if you do not have the proper cable box for this to plug in, then there's no adapters or anything that I could find for it. So I think I've come up with a solution. It's a solution I used to use when I first got into retro computers. And these are the pieces of paper that I got with the unit. There is the Odyssey Limited Warranty. Somehow I don't think this is valid anymore, but it is actually interesting to have, and yeah, is actually a nice piece of history. You can see where all of the places were that you could get your Magnovox Odysseys serviced in the United States. And the other thing was the instruction book. So we have in the instruction book an introduction to the Odyssey 500, how to hook it up to your TV. There's that proprietary connector that I don't have. Now, the interesting thing is this would have been one of the earliest things that people would have ever bought for hooking up to their TVs. So all of this would have been new. So there's a few pages of how to tune your TV in, how to hook up the AC adapter, everything like that. Because, got to remember, back in 1976, this would have been very new to people. Then another rundown of the machine, what all the buttons are, how to control the players with the knobs that are on there. And then the games. You've got your Smash, which, as I said, is kind of like handball. Tennis, which is, well, it's tennis. Hockey. And then soccer, which is basically just hockey, but using a different sprite. All right, now it is time to hook that up, see if we can figure out a way to get that working on the TV, and test it out. So the little trick that I'm using here, I'm using 2 wires on the connector here, one wrapped around the outside, one going into the middle. This is something I used to do on my old machines back when I first got into retro computers, and I didn't have any of the little adapters that could take this type of end and make it into the RF connector that would fit in there. So I'd wrap the middle part around the middle part of this and the outer part around the shielding part. The only reason that I'm even thinking about doing this is because we actually did this at Boat Fest this year. Frank from Retro Rewind was fixing a Coco 2 and we couldn't find any adapters or anything to try and hook it up to a TV, so we tried the wire trick. Eventually we actually found a proper adapter to hook it up, but that was the reason I was even thinking of this. So it's just there. All right, there is my hillbilly fix for hopefully getting this Odyssey to work. Well, let's plug this in. I'm going to try to connect it to my capture card through the cable box here. If that doesn't work, I'll try it on my regular CRT TV that I have behind me. All right, we have everything hooked up. Let's see what happens. I think that is supposed to be what happens. So you've got your center knob here, which moves the net. And then I guess you've got to move the blue character over. These knobs are a little touchy. They could use a little bit of probably deoxit or something. Now, how do you serve? All right, well, let's try. So this would be tennis, I guess. Interesting that we're actually in color here, 1976, and in color. Yep, got a couple of dead spots in the controls here. Anyways, as you can see, it works. So, these are the different sprites you've got. There, you'll notice the one guy has a black dot in the middle. So if you're playing on a black and white screen, then you can tell the difference between them. Except that it keeps going off the screen. There's hockey. And you got like a hockey net there. I'll have to actually read the instructions to figure out how to play these games, but yeah, it works. So let's take this apart. So looking at this machine, I can't see anything other than this one big screw in the middle. And it does say open right there. So let's follow its instructions. Wow. That was really easy to take apart. Ooh, a nice copper color on the inside. Now I have to figure out how this is held in here. Looks like some actual bolts. Geez, you'd think these hadn't been taken out in 47 years. I guess perhaps these knobs have to come off. Oh yeah, okay, they do pull off. I had tried to pull these off earlier, but they're on there so tight Whew, that one did not want to come off. There we go. Something just fell out. Ah, the little metal bits. I will just have to go find those. We have the 6 ICs on the board here. I tried looking up the part numbers on these and I could find absolutely nothing. But one thing that is interesting is, so you got the speaker up here. You've also got a switch here for turning the sound on and off. You got your channel selector here. So all of this is interior. You actually have to go into the board here to adjust any of these things. And there's also lots of little adjustment pots all over the board. You've got, and they're all nicely labeled. Like this is a score adjustment, player size, or ball size, I guess. Blanking width. Basically, lots and lots of stuff that you can adjust on here. So one thing that I am going to do while I've got this open is a little bit of contact cleaner into everything. And then most importantly, all right, well, I am ready to put this back together. I have taken the case out and gave it a little bit of a scrubbing. So it's a bit cleaner now, so I'll see you when I have this back together. All right, there we go. That is the Odyssey 500. It's cleaned up. It's working a lot better. The controls are feeling a lot less crunchy. I've unfortunately got no friends here to play with, but I'm doing the best I can playing tennis against myself. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what you can do with the liking, the subscribing, and the commenting below, because anything and everything you do is always greatly appreciated and helps the channel out a lot. But I am going to mess around with the Odyssey 500 for a little bit longer here, and I will see you next time. And let me tell you, trying to play ambidextrously, 2 players at once with 2 different controls and talking, not that easy. Bye for now.